Hello, friends. So happy to have you here with me today at Radical Joy. If you've been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time with us, we're glad you're here. Each Wednesday, I'm here with you talking about things that weigh on my mind and heart, hoping that if you're dealing with something similar, we can adjust our perspectives as you listen. The more people I meet and the more places I go, the more I realize how important it is to make people aware of the fact that there is no shame in enjoying the parts of your life that are incredible. It's time for some radical joy. And this week, the three fingers pointing back at me are for coincidences. This has been kind of reminding me all week that it is there in these little moments that I get to spend in different ways with different people in different situations. And it's just something that continues to tap at me. And I'm like, what is the lesson here? What is it that I'm supposed to see here, that I'm supposed to learn, etc., from the situation? And the more often I did it, the more I sort of focused on a couple of things and want to see how those kind of coalesce today as we're talking. There is a phenomenon known as the Bader-Meinhof. Now, I hope I'm saying that right. Baader hyphen Meinhof. And this is one of those things where if you think about like, wow, I rarely see a PT Cruiser anymore. I think it was a Chrysler product. It was sort of like, it looked like an old surfing woody wagon, if you remember what a PT Cruiser looked like at all. And it was one of those things you're like, I don't see those very often. Like, say you're driving down the street, you see one, it's a little bit older vehicle. They didn't make them for very long, and I don't think they make them anymore. I haven't seen one of those in a while. Wow, that's really something special. And then in the following week, you see another 6 of them on the road. Because I think it's one of those things where you see it and it's special at the time. It brings your attention to it. It brings it to the forefront of your mind, which means that you continue to look for it, which means probably, in all likelihood, you're going to see it a lot more often. Bader-Meinhof. Great. I drive a car. It's a Honda Cross Tour. It's an Accord wagon, basically, or an Accord hatchback. I was unfamiliar with the car until I found it and bought it, and now that I drive it, I see them everywhere. It was a car they stopped making in 2017, but I love mine. Her name is Ellie. She's light blue. People have commented that she matches my eyes, which I would like to say is a coincidence. It is not. Which leads us into the title or theme of today's episode: coincidences. I love thinking about these kinds of things because, for whatever reason, just like what I was mentioning earlier, I've had to say the phrase, there are no coincidences, no fewer than 10 times in the past week. It has been an intensely powerful week for me personally, just from the fact that the interactions I've had with some really wonderful people have led me to say that phrase more than I have in probably the last year, the last 12-month period, because we just started January. So, yeah. And I love it. I think it's absolutely wonderful, and I think that I want to stick by that forever, okay? The Bader-Meinhof plays into coincidences, plays into a little bit of making something happen because you focus on it. I'm curious to see where this meander is going to take us today, but I think those three are very, very closely related, and we're going to explore that a little bit today. You guys know I love to journal, so every morning I get out my fountain pen, and it's usually got either a cartridge in it with a fun color or an adapter in it with bottled ink that I've purchased from around the world. I've got a beautiful bottle of green from Japan. I've got an orange shimmer, I want to say maybe from London, but I'll sit down with this pen, and this fountain pen makes me feel very fancy, makes me feel very focused. It's not a fancy pen. Just so we're clear, it was a gift from a very good friend of mine. And putting pen to paper always makes me feel very connected, very at one with the words that are pouring out the nib of this fountain pen. And For whatever reason, a couple of days ago, I ran out of ink before I even got started. I put the nib to the paper and I started to scribble, and I might have gotten 3 words out before it started to fade, and it just started going scratch, 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 dry nib against paper, and sometimes that's very satisfying, and others it's very irritating, just depends on how much coffee I've had. Well, I go to the room, to my office, and I find a bottle of red, and the title, the color is called Oxblood. And there's a very good friend of mine from college that was her trademark lipstick color. Whenever we were starting to become friends, she took me to a formal at her university. We had a great time, and we've stayed lifelong friends. And now I know her family, and it's one of those things. Well, I take a picture of the bottle and I text it to her, and we had a wonderful little chat during the day. While she's at work. So, we had to do pauses, but of course she's busy. She's busy. She's a boss lady. And it was so nice because we got to catch up for a while, and she told me about a lot of the news going on in her life. And for her privacy's sake, I want to make sure that I keep that kind of to myself. It's not great, and that's her words, not mine. And she said, "I'm so happy this happened this morning." She said, "I'm so happy that you reached out." She says, "I can't tell you how much better I feel after we had our little conversation." I was like, "Sure." That's there are no coincidences. None in the world, ever. And the joy that I got to help facilitate from that just came from a tiny thought, a memory that has stayed with me for years, now decades. And with the way technology is today, it's so easy to take a picture and send it to someone in seconds, where it's barely even an effort anymore, but the effort that you take to do it still makes such a difference in someone's life. And I just want to say, hey, when you have that opportunity, take it. Everybody, and I mean everybody, even the Jeff Bezos and the other billionaires, the Elon Musks and the why am I having a hard time remembering the Microsoft guy? Jeez Louise. Bill Gates. There we go. Everybody's got a second to do those kinds of things and make that connection. Because just like I told her, I said, there are no coincidences. When I see that kind of thing happen, it's just the whole thing, God, the universe, whatever it is you choose to put your faith in or choose, moves all of us together. They send those little messages to make sure that we're listening. And they give us a chance to act on them and to connect more strongly with those in our circles and to elevate all of us, because she told me that I helped lift her day. And when she told me that I was a help to her, that helped to move me forward. And the fact that there's no way something that small and insignificant and basically so far away could be a coincidence. I just choose not to believe it. Now, if you aren't on that same page, that's cool. Hey, live your life. I'm here to tell you those kind of things happen too often in my life for me not to believe that there's some kind of grand design that is working so the people that I love the most, who are so incredibly special to me, whenever I work to build that bond between us, that something wonderful is happening behind the scenes that makes sure that whenever I reach out for something like that, that it is not a coincidence. It is 100% necessary, and it makes both of us stronger and better because I took that moment to say, hey, thinking of you. Hope you're well. And then to get the reply, nope, sure am not. So I sure am glad you decided to send this to me today because I was struggling. So thank you for taking that hot second to make sure that I know that you were thinking of me. Hey, that's my pleasure. Happy to hear it did so well. And now she's got a couple of tubes of oxblood lipstick on their way to her, just to remind her exactly who she is and how special she is and how special she's always been. Sometimes you need that kind of stuff, you know? And again, none of this is me bragging on me, okay? I'm sorry if it comes across that way. That's not what's happening here. It's just the example. And you continue to put little bricks on top of that foundation to make sure that you can continue to build that relationship. Because sometimes folks just need to know they're loved, okay? That's it. It's real simple and it doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It doesn't have to be something worthy of a rom com, okay? I don't need I don't even know who's in a rom-com. I don't need some little heart-throbby, coupley, whatever, doing that on a movie screen to make this feel that way. No, not like that. It's just taking care of each other and your tribe and your community, okay? That's all. I love it when people tag me in their social media to talk to me about things that I do on the regular. Travel Mojo has been one of the funnest hashtags that me and my buddy Andrew came up with the Adventure Dudes. And now we haven't taken a trip in a little over a year. Life gets busy and I get it. We have a hard time prioritizing, brother travel in the year of our Lord 2024. And I still see friends whenever they get on a flight and they have an empty row or they get that upgrade or they land an hour ahead of schedule or they are in a unique position to go ahead and take that $600 flight credit because they don't really have to be anywhere really, really soon. So they got that flexibility and they will post a photo and they will tag me and they will use the hashtag Travel Mojo. And I love it. I love it. Now, I say that to say this. If we're operating on the fact that there are no coincidences and these little moments that they could have just let slide and be just, chuffed and fluffy because they got this bump or they don't have to sit next to someone with weird chatty habits or doesn't smell the best or likes demand spread or any of those other things we don't love when we travel. They take a photo, usually a selfie, which I love. And they're like, I'm channeling some of that James Bullard hashtag travel mojo today. And I love it. It thrills the bejesus out of me from my heart all the way down to my manky toenails. I stinking love it. Okay. And the more often that happens, the more frequently I see that go across my friends' feeds, pardon me, and the more I'm wondering, is that quote unquote luck? Is it a coincidence that it's happening to them? Or are they focusing good intention on their travels because they see how much I do of it? How lucky, how fortunate I am in so many of my interactions in an airport whenever things go sideways while I'm on the plane. And then I make sure to take note of it, throw the gratitude to the world because this wonderful thing has happened when so many other people expect their travel experience to be less than optimal. And whether they go good or bad, though we don't love a sticker, you know what I'm talking about. That's usually what they get. And I'm not saying that you made your own terrible travel experience. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that keeping a very positive expectation on whatever it is that you're doing in your life will often adjust your perspective so that even if it isn't optimal, you're open to it and it seems better just because that's what you have come to expect. What if that's the secret? What if that's the magic? Huh? Right? What if that's the thing that if we know we have travel coming up, that instead of expecting and almost creating a rough day of it, that we took it the other direction? Nothing would please me more than you thinking of me whenever you have to go to the airport. And I'm hoping that I have been shenaniganery enough that whenever you get to the airport, it might make you chuckle or smile just a little bit. And already the whole thing starting off on a great foot. It's not just a foot, it's like a skip. Okay. How great would that be? So here's the thing, the energy that surrounds you shines from you. If people know that you're having a good day, if they can see it, I choose to believe that a lot of people want to get on board with that. They want to keep it going because those kinds of things are contagious in the very best way. And I'm talking like pandemic level. Okay. And I know we're all a little traumatized from talking about stuff like that. Oh boy, do I get it. If people see you having a good day for no other reason than you just decided to have a good day, it gets on them. And especially if you're just shameless about it. Let me tell you something. I am a fool for a day that feels like that. Okay. I will absolutely go out of my way to make conditions in such a fashion so that whenever I go out to a day that in most cases would probably seem somewhat challenging, I will try so hard to make sure that I set the stage for something that's going to be better than what I may have expected in the beginning. And as that day wears on and my productivity continues to roll and grow and gain momentum and inertia, I feel so good. I'm getting stuff done. I'm moving and shaking. If I get enough stuff done, I'm going to go to the coffee shop in the afternoon and maybe pick up a little treat because I have been so good. What a good boy. And because I've done now I'm feeling good. Like I'm walking taller. I'm feeling like I'm filling my t-shirt better. Like I'm just got that swagger going. And there is something in that that is magic. And it's not a brag, it's not a flex. It's just I have gotten stuff done today. And because of that, I am guiltlessly treating myself to a coffee someplace not at my house. Okay? And because Brazil is coming up, there will not be a baked good that will accompany this. And that is absolutely just great. Because I got a Speedo to wear, and by God, I'm going to give that body the beach it's going to get. And I'm also going to set the stage for the most. I'm going to make sure that my habits leading up to it provide the best situation for a great picture for the Christmas card in 2024. And that's really all I can ask of literally anything that I do in my life. It's just one of those things, and I want to broaden that a lot. Okay. I am going to do everything in my power to set the stage for a great day. And I'm going to keep doing that every day I possibly can. Okay. And the more good woo woo I put out, the better everything continues to roll. I understand that there are people struggling. God, I do. Okay. Trust me. I get it. I do. I am one of those people. All right. There are times where I look at the bank balance. I'm like, oh, that's a little lower than I needed it to be. And then you start thinking about, okay, I'll be working harder. I'll be working smarter. I'll be very productive. I'll make sure that I put myself in a position where I can do those kinds of things. And it's going to happen. And it's going to happen. And if it doesn't, then it forces me to look at it in a different way so that I can pay a minimum on this card this month and I can pay it off next month. Or I can make sure that I do a little creative accounting. Nothing crazy, nothing illegal. I can move money from savings around so that if something comes due before that paycheck rolls in, we're covered. We're covered. Because I find the minute that I start to panic, The minute that I start to close in on myself and my gratitude and my strength and my love and my faith is when things start to really get tight. Okay. Whenever I lose trust in the goodwill in the universe, in the good of other people, in the fact that there are some people out there who do actually conspire for my success, as well as forces at work that I cannot see, but I know I can feel, and I trust them, and I put more energy toward them just to make sure they know that I see them, even if I can't see them, and I feel them, and I know that they're there. I'm just like, great, let's do that. Met this amazing lady today, and I have invited her to come on board Radical Joy and be a guest with us one day. Um, I went to go pick up an Instant Pot this week. It's a long, convoluted story. I went to some favorite friend's home because they wanted to talk about podcasting. And when I got there, we had fajitas, and the chicken was so unbelievably tender and wonderful. I was like, how did you get this so tender? This is so nice. My chicken comes out tasting like rubber. And so I got to throw it in some sauce just to make it, palatable. I'm like, oh, it's this. And they showed me their Instant Pot. I was like, I did not know this. Yeah, it's basically a high-tech pressure cooker. And then that sent me on a memory lane journey because, if you grew up in the South like I did, and your mom is making jelly or she's canning something or whatever, she would put the cans in the pressure cooker to seal them. And oh, I have the most wonderful memories of mom making vegetable soup and peach jelly. Oh my gosh. Oh, now my heart just hurts because good God Almighty, Donnie Sue McCoy Bullard made the most wonderful peach jelly, and her vegetable soup was a close friggin' second. Don't you even think it isn't? And those incredible, just I want to say confection because the peach jam was absolutely a treat. It was literally ambrosia of the gods. It was the stuff that I would just it was if you ever wonder why I was such a chunky kid, that was it. Okay, I'm getting a little sidetracked here. Let's bring it back. Anytime you have to can or seal something to preserve it, you have to put it in a pressure cooker so that it seals. That ball jar lid seals and all of the air gets out of there so you can preserve it. And then whenever you have to, and then you put the ring on it and you put it on the shelf until it's time to eat. And then when you take off the ring and you pop that ball jar lid with the other end of a spoon, not the business end, but the handle end, and while it's cooking in the pressure cooker, you've got that little weight on the back of the pressure cooker. It goes and it was the most wonderful memory. It's this visceral, beautiful thing because so many wonderful sensations go along with that. So many sensory stimuli go in with that. It's like you got the smell of the peaches cooking. You've got the that unbelievable sweetness. You got the texture of the biscuit that you put it on right before you put it in your mouth. It fills your nose. And it wasn't just the smell. You could almost smell the texture of that fluffy cloud of carbohydrate before it entered your mouth. Oh my God. It's so many biscuits covered in her homemade peach jelly. Good gosh almighty. So good. Same thing with the vegetable soup. You heat it up and then you throw a giant slab of cornbread in there and you mash it all together until it is basically this stewy pudding of amazing. And she'd always throw either like roast beef or hamburger meat in there, and it was just oh come on, it was so good. And then whenever they said it basically a high tech pressure cooker, well, awesome. Okay, great. Super. So I'm doing that and I'm making my own here. And I made my first batch yesterday. It didn't turn out exactly right, but that's okay. I got the recipe and now I know how to make it better. Well, that happened. I had to go pick up my pressure cooker. Wow, this story is just going all over the place. Bear with me. Thank you so much for your patience. I go pick up this pressure cooker that I found on Facebook Marketplace, and then I Google bakery close to me because now I'm in the neighborhood where my producers are for Oh What a Night, that the Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons tribute band with whom I sing. And there's one really close to me called the TSP Baking Company. Well, that sounds fun. So I go there and I walk in, and there's this tiny lady in the sparkliest eye makeup you have ever seen. And she's about 5 foot nothing. She might weigh 100 pounds, soaking wet, carrying an anvil. And she is the most kinetically awesome human being I have met in a moment. Okay, it's like waves crashing into one another, because the more excited she gets to see the who I am, the more excited I get to see the energy in the who she is. And pretty soon we're both kind of vibing and elevating. And before you know it, we're friends on every social platform. I have asked her, and she has delivered a hug before I get out of there, because I've bought a whole box full of baked goods. Because one, support small business, always and always, period. And they're going to my producer's home because they're dealing with sickness there, that I want to make sure I'm careful of their privacy. But it's not a small thing, and they're very important people. And the best thing I know to do is show up with something good to eat. And they have given me something good to eat for them. They have brought me from about a 4 to about a 12 and a half on a scale of 10. I am crying before I leave the bakery, because y'all know me. I cry at the drop of a hat, and just retelling this story gets me a little emotional, because they are going through something. This wonderful woman behind the counter, and she tells me what it is. And we just have a minute that goes on for a minute, a Southern minute, okay? Not a 60-second time, but like we spend a minute. You know what I'm saying? And there are no coincidences, because I needed that interaction, right? I needed that moment. I needed that new person in my life to tell me, to hold up a mirror to say, "Hey, what you're doing is good for you, and I'm hoping it's good for other people." And whenever we got to talk a little later, because we're DMing back and forth on Instagram, she said, "I really needed today." And I told her, I said, "Ooh, mama, I know that's right, because I left there on a cloud. I did a little hoppity skippity, and luckily my producers were not home. So I just got to drop off this bag full of treats on the doorknob." Well received, by the way. Shout out to TSB Baking Company. I cannot wait to have you on here, Carrie. You're wonderful. And it's just one of those things where I continue to leave myself open for it. I continue to acknowledge whenever something like that happens, because there are no coincidences in the world. I continue to look for these connections. I continue to seek them out, because my life gets infinitely richer and deeper and stronger. My light shines brighter when I find these things in my life. These people, these incredible people that I won't see Carrie that often in person. She's about half an hour's drive away from here. When I'm anywhere in the neighborhood, bet your bottom dollar I'm going to stop in for a ginger snap after Brazil, because, like I told you earlier, I got to squeeze all this into a Speedo. It's wonderful to do this for yourself and for others. The world continues to throw things at you need. Okay? Let me make this incredibly clear. If you're looking for it, the world will find a way to deliver it. So please make sure you're looking for the stuff that makes you happy. Look to be a help. It's so easy. I know there's a lot on our plates. I know we already have so much with our obligations that we've already committed to. Gosh, Trump, promise. This is not a surprise. It is not something that we're saying that is a new concept. I'm here to let you know as well that there is enormous power in small gestures. Everything you do is kinetic. You drop a pebble into the ocean. Nah, wait, into the lake. Because I want this to be one of those things where I want you to be able to see the impact that you make. If you're going to be dropping something into the ocean, make sure it's a little bit larger. A pebble still makes a difference, okay? If you're throwing something into something that already is moving, you're going to need to get a bigger rock in order to see the difference you make because there's already something happening there. If you drop your pebble into the lake, you can see it immediately. If you're dropping your pebble into the ocean, you'll see it. What's already happening there will consume it pretty quickly. So if that's where you choose to throw your stone, if payback is what you're looking for, if a return on your investment is what you're looking for, you're gonna need a bigger rock. Oh, I love where this ended up today. Oh, this was so good. I'm going to have to start using more examples. Whenever I start talking all like flowery and theoretical and this sort of thing, I think it is not as enjoyable for me as it is to describe in examples. And I think that my life lends itself to more than plenty of those so that we can have little anecdotal evidences of these little blessings along the way, as well as the idea behind it. I think that's going to do me a lot better. I feel a lot better about walking away from the microphone on this gloomy Saturday in January. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this is your first episode, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. I know that there's a million different ways you could be spending your time. The fact that you chose to be here with me listening to this is wonderful. Thank you for being here. If this is not your first episode, welcome back. Wow. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you so much for being a part of this because this helps me a lot. And I'm hoping that something I got to talk about today became a conversation. I hope that wherever you're listening and whatever it is that you're saying, you got to nod along, maybe even say something in agreement or rebuttal. Great. We're here for it. 100% here for it. As long as it's moving you to a place of more engagement, interaction, and being present, wonderful. What a compliment. Thank you so much. If you're the review type, please, please, please review this wherever it is you listen to your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. Please make a screenshot of it. Send it to us here at Radical Joy. Our contact information is in the notes, in the program notes, so you can send it to us, and we'll send you a little token of our thanks. We'll send you a sticker. It's got my face on it. It's got the Radical Joy logo on it. And you can put that on something like a water bottle or a journal because we love a journal here at Radical Joy. Speaking of journals, we have those now. But it's got our logo on the front. It's black. It's got a hot pink elastic band that'll hold it together. It's got a hot pink bookmark to make sure that you know where you need to pick up next time that you decide to journal. It's also got a little elastic loop for your pen, for your writing utensil. So you can also put pen to paper, and you can see my smiling face and know how much I love you and how excited I am that you're journaling to get any of those errant thoughts out of your head and trapped on a piece of paper so it doesn't have to bounce around in there and make you feel uncomfortable. It's so good. You're so good. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I love our time we get to spend together. This oral journal is a high point of my week. I love getting to spend this time with you, and I hope that the time we get to spend together and the words and the stories that come to me and I get to share with you here are helpful. Love y'all.
The bottom line is, use your words, friends. Thank you for joining us again in this moment of radical joy. If this is your first time, we're so happy you're here. Take a moment to check out our archive. See if there's something else that fires you up, rekindles the joy in you. And hey, spread the word if you enjoyed it. We welcome reviews and messages. Let me know what you want to talk about. I rarely run out of things to say. So if there's something on your mind or heart, I want to hear from you. Don't forget, there is no shame in joy. I am not a therapist or a medical professional. If you're experiencing a mental health emergency, please call 911. This content and other content produced by CLW Studios and affiliated partners is not therapy, and nothing in this content indicates a therapeutic relationship. Any opinions of guests on this podcast are their own and do not represent the opinions of James or CLW Studios. Please consult with your therapist or seek one in your area if you're experiencing mental health symptoms. Anything in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Learn more about James and CLW Studios. Follow the link in the show notes. Don't forget to leave a review, and hey, we'll send you a sticker. Just send a screenshot and let us know where you want it sent. Have a great week, and we will see you next Wednesday for another dose of radical joy. Love y'all.